Good evening. Welcome to On the Couch with Dr. Diamond, the resume queen, and Miss Dedication. Well, tonight, Miss Resume Queen is working hard with some of her clients. So she said to you all of our listeners, she will catch up with us on the next show. But as we know, she is helping people find jobs by writing professional resumes. So we will be seeing her in 2 weeks from now. And Miss Dedication, at some point, she'll be on this evening, but I'm going to go ahead and let's get started. So, current events. I just want to start with that because there was some stuff that was pretty shocking to me in the last week or so. For example, we had the Brooklyn subway shooting. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit and, what went on and how shocking that was again to us as a society that this is going on. And this gentleman decided to go onto the train and, use a distraction, that smoke that he used, and actually shot up. At first, they said 10 people, but that number jumped to about 20 or so people. So I'm hoping that those survivors, once they heal, that they go and get some mental health care, because post traumatic stress disorder is very real, and going through something traumatic as that is something that you'll never forget because your life is at stake. Now, this gentleman that shot these people, his name is Frank R. James. And Frank R. James, whatever was going through his mind that day, none of us will know. But as a therapist, it concerns me that maybe there was something mentally going on with him to make such a decision to go out there and shoot innocent people. Without thinking there's going to be any repercussions. And I noticed that he decided to make the anonymous phone call, and they went around looking for them, as in the police officers, went around searching for him. And he happened to be walking down the street, and they ended up capturing him. So, as we know right now, he is in jail, awaiting what will be coming in front of him, which is pretty soon. He'll be looking at what will be coming upon him, because he actually assaulted these people by weapon. So I'm hoping that all of these people recover, and in the future they begin to do well. And if they do have those moments that they're breaking down because they're reliving what is going on, I encourage the families to assist them by getting some mental health intervention. So, you have psychologists, therapists, you have counselors, life coaches too. So they're important. So look for some mental health intervention. So I encourage that deeply. So on the New Jersey side, wow. Another story that really shocked me was about a transgender that actually impregnated two inmates, female inmates. So this is actually in the news, and it seemed like it's becoming international news and national news that this is going on. So my question would be, if this transgender is going into a female's prison, the question is this person going with his or her equipment? Obviously, this is what happened. So ask yourself, was this thought out properly? Okay. I understand that the ACLU, a lawsuit was put in place by a transgender, but the problem is moving these males, or those that consider themselves female but still have their genitalia, is the issue. So we're talking about women that haven't seen men in a while or interact with men in a while. So now we have two impregnated females. I know one of the females talked greatly about falling in love behind bars. I believe she even wrote an article about it, so you'll be able to find out who they are. I know the transgender first name is Demi, and the one female that identify herself last name is Bellamy. And you'll be able to find this story in NewJersey.com and mostly Daily News. You'll be able to find all of this story in particular. So I'm hoping that they figure out what's going on. A lot of all three of these people are doing a life sentence, so, or at least 30 years or more. And unfortunately, that child is being born, or children that are going to be born to these parents, that they won't be able to be in their lives like on an everyday basis. So again, it's something that I was like, wow, that gave me the wow factor of, wow, what is really going on here and what's going to happen. So I would say follow that if you're interested in finding out what's going to happen with these three. And hopefully there are no more that will be come up pregnant, because I know that there were a lot of transgenders that was transferred over to the female prison. So hopefully there are no more. But again, if you're interested in that story, why not go follow it and see what's going on? I'll be doing it, and then I'll be reporting back to you all about what's going on with this particular story. So tonight I wanted to move into healthy relationships. This is the topic for tonight that I wanted to discuss, and how that happens. So, what is healthy relationships? When we think about healthy relationships, we think about how we develop it. So, it begins with when we grow up. Who do we who are we around all the time? Which is our parents. So it could be your mom, your dad, both. If you have both in the household, you have extended family members. Your nuclear family members can consist of mom, dad, and your siblings. So this is where you learn how to begin relationships. Now, what does that look like for some people? Well, for some people, relationships could be dysfunctional, others can be healthy. But to define what healthy is, I want to give you some words that will help you figure out what healthy relationship is, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. So, healthy relationships. So, when you think about healthy relationship, focus on this: open communication, you have honesty, you have trust, compromise, individuality, anger control, fair fighting, resolving conflict, equality, and safety. So let's kind of start with open communication. So when you are a little person, you're learning how to socially interact with the people you're living with. So, what is healthy? Okay, each person or family can see healthy relationships very differently, especially how they communicate. You have some people that communicate and they're very loud talkers, but that's just the way they are in their family. Doesn't mean that they are doing something that we have to question and say, "Oh, what's really happening with these people? They don't know how to communicate." Well, if you want to look at the opposite of that, ineffective communication is a person that's using abusive language, cursing at the person, degrading them, making them feel less than, or telling them they don't have, telling them shut up or don't have a voice. People that don't have a voice begin to develop into people that never have a voice. What does that mean? Never having a voice would mean when you are interacting with other people, these people voices are louder than yours. You're not able to verbalize because you were always told not to. So that when you look at open communication, is you're able to go and have a communication or open communication with that receiver. This person is receiving what you're saying, and they are giving you critical feedback in the most positive way possible. So that is having a healthy dialogue and open communication. Honesty is very important. So, teaching our children at a young age what it means to be honest. So, honesty can simply be if they did get into trouble about something, to at least come to you and tell you about it instead of them hiding about it and then developing being dishonest when they're interacting with other people outside of the home. So, do children tell fibs? Yes. Do we all tell fibs? Yes. But if you're deliberately being untrustworthy and you're deliberately being dishonest and you practice that quite often, it becomes a natural behavior. So we have to be careful how we communicate and how honest we are with that person and being truthful about our feelings. So if someone hurts our feelings, even in our family, it is okay to tell them. Now we're moving away from, and I'm hoping, those of you that are parents, yes, children, the old fashioned way of children are seen but not heard. Well, I can tell you as a therapist what happens when you not have that open communication with your kids. What it's doing is allowing them not to have that, ability of expressing themselves like they should. Hello, Miss Dedication. How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So I was just beginning our topic tonight, which is about healthy relationships, and I was talking about, honesty, trust, and open communication. So when we're kids, we're hoping that we're able to learn those things. But you and I grew up in that time where children are seen but not heard. What do you think about that part of, what I was describing about letting your children have that ability to begin to verbalize themselves to you rather than not saying anything?
Well, I believe, yes, kids should have a voice, but there also should be some ground rules there because sometimes, as you see in different cultures, you have like the Asian culture, uh, the children are not they don't speak up unless they're spoken to. But you see other cultures where kids are just very verbal. And there's nothing wrong with that. They should have a voice. However, there should be boundaries with having a voice and being respectful
Yes.
because a lot of the kids that, well, a lot of kids that do have voices, they borderline disrespect. And
Yeah.
the parents look at them and they don't react. They just, give them the eye and just let it
Yes.
slide. So the old fashioned way, how we were raised, we knew once we were given the look what that meant. If we stepped out of line,
Mhm.
behind closed doors, we already knew we had to get dealt with. But nowadays, these children are so disrespectful, and having a voice means to them, in their small minds, because they're still developing. They don't know better unless they're taught better.
Right.
They go all out with saying things and saying it around anybody without a regard to, you know, um, older people and elders. And I
Yeah.
just don't get that. And with having a voice, if the parents don't step in and say, okay, I understand what you're saying. However, this is how you need to say it. So there is a proper way of saying things with having a voice. Now, you don't have to always be quiet, but some people are quiet because they're naturally introverted. There's nothing you can
Mhm.
do about that. When they're in their comfort zone, they will speak up. However, again, having a voice, kind of goes a little bit out of control because, again, um, in many cases, as you have seen, even on the news, well, even when you're in the supermarket or the mall, it it comes across as being disrespectful, and for me, I just don't tolerate it because even with my kids, and they're all grown, I'm still old
Mhm.
fashioned. Let them even raise their voices, disrespect somebody that's my elder in front of me. My foot is up their tail, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying because one, we have to make sure, and like I was talking before you came into the segment, is that healthy relationships or learning how to have a healthy relationship is important. And the foundation begins at home. How do you socially interact with the people you're growing up with? And you're right, there are certain boundaries that you're going to set because those children are going to leave out of the home and they can, if they're not learning that they have to respect adults, even though they may have their voice, they'll go out in the community and they will as you described, be disrespectful and don't care what a person is saying or value their opinion. But if we're teaching them that it is okay that other people have opinions, you may not agree with everything that they have to say, but this is a part of what it means to have a healthy relationship with another person. And that's, a lot of what we're addressing tonight, what that means, because a lot of people don't know what it means to have that healthy interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've have, and probably you've heard people grow up with, again, I was talking about how if you have a child and you being verbally abusive to them, that's an unhealthy way to develop a relationship with your child, because what
Right.
they're going to do is go out and be verbally abusive to someone else. So when you're
Right.
jumping on that child, jump on yourself,
Right.
because you're the one teaching the child healthy and unhealthy, what that looks like when it comes to relationship. That
Mm-hmm.
looks more like dysfunction,
It is
and
dysfunction.
it's totally dysfunction. And then we got to look at how that was passed down from one generation to the next. And sometimes it's not, that person just developed, like you said, a
Yes.
nasty way of disposition, where they go out and they're rude and they're disrespectful and they wonder why their children is doing it. It's because you're the example. So,
Yes.
to all our listeners out there, remember, we are the example to our children and grandchildren.
Right.
If we want to have healthy relationships with them, we have to begin to develop it from the beginning.
Yes.
Remember, you're laying down the foundation to build a house on.
That's
If
right.
you don't think about that, then you're totally out of sorts. You'll see it unravel right in front of you, or that
Mm-hmm.
house you're building is crumbling down because the child is giving back to you what you're dishing out or teaching. So
Mm-hmm.
be careful on that. And I agree with the boundaries. That's very, very important. So I think we need to practice that when it comes to healthy relationships. And there are 3 C's about healthy relationships. And then I do want to, before I move on to the 3 C's, I want to focus on two. There's several types of relationships I would like to name so we understand them too. So we have relationship with self, we have the relationship with others, which is social, then we have sexual relationship, intimate relationships, and the work relationships. Now, there are others that come upon you as far as relationships, but those are your basic types of relationships. And when we talk about relationship, it's how you interact with the other
Mm-hmm.
person. So when you're interacting, we have to be careful on opposing our opinion on another person too, or making them feel uncomfortable when they're interacting with us. Okay. So if I come from a family where everybody speaks loud, sometimes you got to tell them that. Well, I'm just letting you know, I'm just a person that speaks very loud, because other people find it like, oh, I find it offensive or shocking or whatever the case may be. But it's about you, how you
Mm-hmm.
socialize, how you interact. So the 3 C's. The 3 C's are compromise. Well, really, communicate is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Compromise and commitment, right? How committed are we to ourselves? So how do you, when you look at healthy relationships, how do you have a healthy relationship with yourself, Miss Dedication? How do you begin doing that?
I have a healthy relationship by knowing who I am, being at peace, and
Mhm.
loving me. Because if you don't know how to love yourself, it is impossible for you to pass that on in a relationship because you just don't have the tools.
Yeah, yeah. Amen. I agree with that. So having a relationship with yourself, like you said, is knowing, number one, who am I? How do I present myself to the world when I'm interacting with someone else? If I don't love myself, how can I love somebody else? You really can't. You
Mm-hmm.
have to focus on you. How do I have a relationship with me? If my relationship with me is even toxic, what does that mean? Toxic can simply mean that you are not taking care of yourself well. You have these ongoing tapes in your head. I'm worthless. I'm no one. No one likes me. No one wants me around. These are very unhealthy ways to view yourself. But loving yourself turns into I am valuable, I am worthy, I am, I can bring something to the world. I love me. And why do I love me? Because the question is why? What do you love about yourself? A lot of the times in my sessions, when I talk to people, I ask them, who are you? There's a purpose for that. Because I need to know if you're connected with yourself. That's very important. Are you connected? Do you know yourself? And how important that is to be connected to self.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic relationships. So, what is a toxic relationship? Because I know we both know, and I'm pretty sure we probably either have seen them or been in them. What do you think about toxic relationships?
I think a toxic relationship is are two people that disagree all the time. They get to the point where you can't even agree to disagree. A toxic relationship is someone who can't get their way and they start using other means to express their ignorance by name calling. Those are
Yes.
toxic relationships. Another toxic relationship is when you show love and affection to someone, just as simple as, seeing them and greeting them with, a hug, not even a handshake, a hug, and they don't know how to receive that. That's
Yes.
toxic.
Yes. 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 It's toxic. And it also goes back to how did they develop relationships? What happened for them to experience toxic relationships? Now, here's the thing, some of it can come from the foundation, but it comes from a broken person. If I
Mhm.
come into a healthy relationship and I know me and I'm healthy, right? But then I'm in this relationship that's toxic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are taking on the other characteristics of the person too, and you begin to tolerate.
Mhm.
This is where domestic violence come in at. Those
Mhm.
of you that are listening to us and watching us today, that's how this happens. Domestic violence, it is so subtle, and it happens with that toxic way of relating to another person. Verbal abuse, because we're talking about relationships. So, verbal abuse can be the most toxic way to hurt someone by using words. Physical, we know about, because more than likely a person is going to be physical with you. Those are in these domestic violence relationships. But the words are also toxic. When a person is calling you names or disrespecting you, belittling you, that is toxic,
Mhm.
very toxic behavior.
Yes. Yes.
So, even teenagers these days, have you ever watched the interaction with teenage girls and boys when they're in relationships?
Yes.
Does it appear to you that they're already beginning a domestic violence relationship?
Yes. It appears to me that it's imitated behavior.
Mm-hmm. It is imitated behavior. Exactly. So, what they see is what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So, if I see my mom or my dad interacting and they're toxic with each other, well, I'm going to take that out in the street because that's what I know. Who are you to tell me that I'm not supposed to talk to a person like that? That's what I know. So, environment, our environments are very influential.
Mhm.
So, be very careful. Those of us that have the younger ones growing up behind us, especially our teenage girls and boys. These girls are catching up with boys too with these very assaultive type behaviors,
Mhm.
very disrespectful. They're
Mhm.
talking to people all types of way, and that is an unhealthy way to develop a relationship. I also want to talk about parent-child relationship. How can that become toxic?
It becomes toxic when you already out the gate let your child know that you're equal instead of being a
Mhm.
parent first.
Yes.
That's when it becomes toxic, because then
Mhm.
when you have, say for instance, you have company coming over, they find their way, in and out of, ear hustling on a conversation and giving their opinion. That's never supposed to happen.
No.
Never. A child is supposed to stay in a child's place, but some people think when, kids, I don't care how small they are, when they say things and they do things amongst company, that's funny. To me, that's not funny. A
Yeah.
child is supposed to be a child, and you're supposed to correct them on the spot, because at a young age, when they're at the size of your knee, you still got to get them in a pattern of learning, because they're still trying to figure life out, because
Hmm.
they've only been here such a short period of time. And it's our
Yes.
responsibility to help them find their way from a
Mhm.
young age. And the more we do it, the more they'll remember, look, hey, uh, mom got such and such over. I need to just pass through the kitchen to go to the bathroom, and keep it moving. I need not,
Yes.
be in a conversation, because I'm gonna get popped, or I'm gonna get, put on punishment, or have my phone or the TV taken away. They need to know these things, because if they don't, the relationship has already begun its toxicity. And again, it's up to us to correct the wrongs, because if we don't, you know, uh, things happen, peer pressure, the
Hmm.
system, you know.
Hmm. Yes, yes. And speaking of the system, when kids get into the system, they don't know how to communicate because no one has ever taught them what to do.
Mhm.
But when they run into the helping person that's going to try to help them, they still have to be receivers for it
That's
because
so
there's
true.
fear of, if I do it this way, what will others think about me? Because if
Mhm.
I'm used to the dysfunctional way of doing things, I don't know what's functional.
Mhm.
Like you said, if I grew up in a healthy manner, then I can do it and
Mhm.
I understand what that looks like. But there are
Yes.
those of us that don't know what that looks like. So I always go back, and I'm going to say this over and over again throughout our segment today, that you are the foundation. We are the foundation of how children come out. If you happen to be a foster parent or have someone in your care, teach them. If you're a healthy person just for self, and again, going back to self, focus on what you're doing. What am I doing, and how am I showing to be a healthy person? I don't have that negative talk in my head, so I know that positive affirmations could be helpful for this child or
Yes.
myself, or read it out loud so everybody can hear it
Yes.
and see
Yes.
how important that is, because that's you loving you. And when they see that, then they'll go ahead and do the same thing you're doing. So practicing these positive ways of having healthy relationships starts with us. It
Yes.
really does.
And
So,
this should be inclusive to step parents
mhm,
as well,
yes,
because a parent-child relationship, whether or not you're the step or not, is the most important,
mhm,
because it's already detrimental that these kids already feel like they are part of the outside, and they're coming into an already ready-made family or blended family or whatever the situation is, and it's hard for them. And then the step parents really really have a tough time loving children
yes,
that's not theirs. And
yes,
then what makes it even more damaging is that the natural parent don't sit down with their significant other and say, look, hey, not my child, no, this is not how we going to do it. If we're going to do this, we need to sit down and talk about this first, so
right.
that it's healthy for this child, so this child can feel loved and wanted.
Yes, love and wanted. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because step parents, it is a very, very hard transition, but not only for the adult, but the child. You
Hmm.
can't leave the child out of the transition because they have to learn to bond with you. That's where trust comes in at.
Hmm.
How do you earn the trust mutually between each other? Guess what that starts with? Healthy communication.
Hmm.
You sitting down, like you said, the parents sit down first, then you bring the child in. And even in the dating phase, if you know that I might be in a long-term relationship with this person, then come on, your kids deserve that, to know who this person is, who's coming into their household, so they understand that, oh, it is okay to communicate with this person. And the
Hmm.
person should be able to openly communicate with your children. But when they get to a point, and this is where it becomes concerning, mothers and fathers who are bringing in either a significant other or a spouse, if that spouse begin to verbally abuse your children, you need to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Stop letting,
Absolutely.
am I right? Stop letting some of
Absolutely.
these people come into your lives and destroy your children.
Hmm. Yep.
Stop it, because that's what's happening. You are
Yes.
allow, and I am going to use the word allow, permission. You're giving them the leeway to talk to your children any type of way. But then it goes back to what you're doing. Are you maybe you were doing it, so then that's why it's easy for that person to come in and do it. No, protect your kids from that, because they're going to grow up being these kids that have out of order behavior, or
Yeah.
they have misdirect anger. All of these things can happen. Depression, the feeling of not having no confidence and not worthy at all. So you destroy their self care from the beginning
Hmm.
when you do that. So be very careful, tread lightly, and always hold that adult accountable if they begin
Right.
to talk to your children any type of way. And
That's
matter of fact, I can't tell you what to do in your relationship, but personally, if it was me, you're out of here,
that's right. That's right.
gone.
Yep.
You don't need it, and your children don't need it. And moms and dads, listen to your kids.
Yes.
One thing about children, they seem to know dysfunction. They know a dysfunctional person. If they don't go by them, take that message, okay?
Hmm.
Something is off about that person.
And even if you don't believe what comes out of the child's mouth, because you know the child has the tendency of bending the truth a little,
Yeah.
when they're in the room with that person, their body actions are going to tell it all.
Mm,
So if you pay attention, that'll be your answer. That'll
that's
be your
right.
opportunity to sit back and watch without saying anything initially, but
Yes.
watch to try to piece it together so that when the time comes for you to present your case or, have your defense,
Hmm.
everything will be lined up.
That's right. That's right. So, healthy relationships, dysfunctional relationships, I hope that we were able to talk about and explain it in a different way where you understand that some of us grow up with it, healthy relationships, others don't. But remember, you're bringing that out into society.
Mhm.
So if you don't know anything about healthy relationships, again, begin with yourself, because as you begin to develop it with yourself, then it becomes a little bit easier. Sometimes these things are foreign to us if we don't grow up that way. So we grow up, and it's always been chaos, always been, verbal abuse, physical abuse, all those things. You don't know how to function other than being toxic. But you can unlearn being toxic and being healthy. And again, it starts with you,
Mhm.
just you. And as parents, when the little people are growing up, like you said, boundaries, but also teaching them how to love themselves, how to
Yes.
communicate, not to demean, compare themselves to others, because sometimes we judge based on what that person is like. And we have to be careful with that, because that's a fine line on what we say to ourselves mentally. What are we saying? Am I not worthy because that person may have more, or they know how to communicate better than me? No. Maybe you can sit back and watch them,
Yes. Yes.
right? Because the
Yes.
influence, big thing,
Yes.
influence. So remember those things that we're saying tonight, because healthy relationships, we need it. Okay. And when we're working in our communities together, let's try to practice being healthy, because the Black community, Black and Brown community, especially the Black community, we tend to turn on each other very quickly. And
Yes.
that's a toxic relationship.
It from the gate. You already know from the gate. I choose my friends, carefully. Um, I have a handful. I have quite a bit, but I have a handful that's been friends for years,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, I don't treat everybody the same, because once you start to gossip, and I already know I gotta distance myself and feed you with a long handle spoon. And then I got the ones that are successful and they do what they need to do, and you have the ones that they just going through life, but they have a healthy conversation with you. They don't look at
Yeah.
what you got. They don't think because
Yeah.
you got more than them that they're inferior. I mean, it is just, when it comes down to relationships, you have to pay attention to all of that and stay away from anyone that's toxic. Because as soon as someone start comparing themselves to what you got, what you had, and
Mhm.
all of y'all grew up from the same walks of life, that
Mhm.
is a red flag.
Yes. Amen. It is a red flag. Now, I've had people say to me, and this is other friends that I have, would say, don't you have a doctorate? Yeah. Why do you hang around us? I said, what? I don't understand that statement. What does that mean? Why do I hang around you? Maybe because I'm a humble person and it comes from my beginnings of what it means to be humble. As you said, the judgment part, that's out the window. I'm not going to judge you because you don't have the same education level that I have. I would never do that because I would never put you in a position where you feel less than me. If we're friends, we're going to be friends. I'm not friends with you because of your education. I'm friends because there's something about our relationship
Hmm.
that brings us to a place that we are friends.
Yes.
And it's so funny that Miss Dedication and I have been friends for many, 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 many years.
Hmm.
And we've always had a healthy relationship. There's only one time we actually had a disagreement.
Hmm.
But I wonder people think now, like, how do they do it? It's because we respect each other. The
Hmm.
moment we became friends, the respect was there. The
Yeah.
commonality that we had was there. The protection of each other was there.
Yeah.
And that's how we started from the beginning. And it's never changed since then. Now, let me know if I'm wrong about that, but that's just, how I feel based on our friendship that has been over at least what, 20 years, because
Yeah. More than 2 decades. Yep.
more than 2 decades, more than 2 decades. So when you can have a relationship for more than 2 decades, we're doing something right.
Yes.
Yeah, we are. So, those of you that are looking for healthy relationships, I can't stress this enough. Begin to start with self first. Look at your environment. What do I want to do for me? And how do I help those that are around me? And just keep in mind, everybody's not going to unlearn that behavior, and others may be fearful of it because their natural default
Yes.
is to be who they are.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
That's a natural default. You're going to go to who you are to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So anything that's foreign to us, we will shy back from. But try it. And how you can try it, again, positive affirmations, being around positive people, being around people like Miss Dedication said, avoid the toxic people so you can begin to grow as a person. So, I think, healthy relationships, and those of you that are listening to us tonight, again, you have any questions about healthy relationships, please reach out to us. We'll talk to you more about it. And, even toxic relationships and getting into that more and what that looks like. But just laying down the foundation of what that is for you and your family.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I would like to, shift gears a little bit tonight. So tonight we are going to talk about our HBCU.
Mhm.
Now, our HBCU is our community information. So, our community information and where we're starting is Alabama State University. Okay, so it was founded roughly, well, about 1867, and William Patterson, he was actually the founder of, Alabama State University. Let's talk about some noble alumni that went there. Do you know about Ralph Abernathy?
I know about Ralph Abernathy. I wasn't too familiar with his educational background. I do know Ricky Smiley because he always
Yes.
screams. He's
Yes.
alumni and he's a Q and
Yes.
he has his big home in
Ye-
Alabama. I mean, he stays true to his roots.
Yes. Does he not? He
Yes.
talk about Alabama State University all the
Yes.
time. You're right. He's so proud of them. And let me tell you all something that's listening to us about HBCUs. Let me tell you something. The band in any
Mm,
school you go to is the truth. Okay? When that when they come out on the field, they command the attention.
yes.
Okay? If you
Yes.
never ever seen a drum line or the band ever for HBCU,
Battle of the Bands.
what?
Oh,
Battle of the
Lord.
Bands. Y'all have to check that out. Okay?
Yes.
Because those drum majors, when they get down on that floor and they lean all the way back into the grass, it's
Mm-hmm.
on. So
Mm-hmm.
believe me when I tell you, and they blow that whistle,
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows what to do in the stands.
Yes.
Everybody. So it is just it's a phenomenal thing to see. You
It
know, check
is.
it out. Check it out and you will never forget it. And
Yeah.
it going back to Ralph Abernathy. Now he was a minister. Okay. Civil rights. He was into civil rights. He was around the time when Martin Luther
Martin Luther
King.
King. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So if you've seen the movie Selma, his segment is in there, like they talk about him and he's walking with Martin. He met him at the house. And matter of fact, I think it was his house that they were at one point in the movie. But he did attend Alabama State University as well as Ricky Smiley. And then their student body is about 3,500 students, okay, for the undergrad. All right. And I think, once again, try to look up these schools and check out what they can offer you, especially academically. All right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, our Black History moment, I wanted to talk about Courtney K Kemp. Do you know who that is?
Yes, she is behind the whole Power series,
All
and she's
right.
in Ambition. I think she's behind Ambitions too, because
Oh,
I
is
was binge
she?
watching Ambit. Yeah, with Robert Gibbons and
Yeah.
Brian
Okay.
White and
Yeah.
Essence Atkins. Yeah, she is a powerhouse. What I'm trying to think, wasn't she a journal? No, she wasn't a journalist major,
Yes.
was she?
You're right.
Okay,
You're right. Uh
because
huh.
I know she got her master's from Columbia.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You got it right. She also attended Brown University. That was her
Yeah.
first school she attended. And she went to school, of course, and she became a writer, a producer. This is what and the creator. She's the creator of Power. And like you said, Ambition. She grew up in Connecticut. So if anybody, want to know a little bit more about her, that's where she grew up. She grew up in Connecticut. She went to Brown University. And yes, she is the creator of Power. I love
Yes,
Power.
I love
Okay.
all except for Raising Canaan.
Really? How
I
come?
didn't care for it. I didn't care
What?
for
What
it.
is it about it? I like it. What is it about
Mm,
Raising King you don't like?
it just wasn't the twists and turns that I was expecting. I was expecting more
Mm-hmm.
action. I did like
Okay.
Jukebox, her whole
Okay.
character. I just didn't like I didn't I didn't like I wasn't crazy about Rocky and her role, and I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't crazy about it at all. That was my least favorite Power.
Okay. So hopefully next season it'll pick up. But right now, I'm going to lay it out what I like most. Force, I love it.
Oh,
Because I love
girl.
Tommy. Those of you that's
Yes.
hearing us talk, Tommy, okay?
Yes.
Tommy, I wanted Tommy to take everybody out in Power. I listen, you
Yes.
guys, don't worry about why I'm thinking like that. But look, Tommy's character is very strong. So
Yeah.
when they made the title Force, it makes sense
Yes.
because he is the Force. When
Yes,
it
he
came to
is.
Ghost was what he was. Ghost. He came in, he came out. Tommy was the Force behind the ghost.
Yeah.
So it made sense to develop his character the way they did. But I love Force.
Me too.
Okay.
I'm
Now,
mad Lily, I hope they didn't write her off. I just hope they found her and was able to save her. I know wishful thinking,
oh,
but I'm
I
mad about
know
that.
you just seen the episode. Listen, we don't want to bust out nobody's bubble on the episode, but oh man, that episode. See, Tommy has experienced a lot of loss.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't handle loss very well. Even if he is the person that causes loss, he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't handle it very well.
Yeah.
And if you all see what a dysfunctional relationship is like, Tommy and his mother, that's the
Oh my
is that not the
God. What?
definition of dysfunction? Girl.
His nephew is just as bad because the question he asked him in the hospital, I was like, yo, he acting like Tommy now.
Because he told Tommy, said, oh yeah, she responds to that very well. Yeah, we
Yeah.
know that's what you call your mom. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. That,
Yes.
you guys, that is the example of dysfunction.
Yes.
Tommy just don't care. He talked to his mother any type of way.
Yep.
She responds in kind. I mean, the relationship is toxic, period.
Yes.
Totally toxic. Tommy would be a good example if you were to look at him through a psychological point of view. He doesn't know what it means to have a healthy relationship with anybody because his mother never developed that into Tommy.
Right.
Tommy have a little bit of soft parts in him, but he's very toxic.
Yes, but he's also a protector. He loves
Yes.
when you're his brother or his nephew, and I'm talking about going back to the original power. When
Yeah.
he loves, and he protects with all he has.
Yes, he
But
does.
that's all he has to give. So
That's true. And Ghost, going back to Courtney, Ghost is based on her father. That character is based on her father. So, that I thought that was very intriguing. Like that
that's
stood out to me.
interesting.
If
Yeah.
it's not very interesting that Saint James St. Patrick is based on who her father was.
Wow.
So I thought it was very interesting to read that. I wanted to share that with everybody. But I tell you what, again, if you are a person that's studying counseling, psychology, Tommy would be a great person to study because you have to watch how he interacts with people. And you are 100%. When he loves hard. He and Ghost always will have that up and down relationship, but he loves Ghost thick and thin. Ghost, he can have a fight with, but no one else can have a fight with Ghost.
Yes, that's true. That's right. That makes sense. That's just like your sibling or your cousins or your close friend relationships.
Yes.
With my best friends, like you or anybody, if me and you argue, we argue. Right. Ain't nobody else best to say nothing. Okay, because that's not their place, and I'll let them know quick, fast, in a hurry.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. So that is a good example of that. So if you ever think about, studying anything like that, or even maybe one day one of our shows will revisit what that looks like by breaking down the relationship that Tommy has. He's a very, very good example of what that looks like. So, those of you that watches it for entertainment like we do, but tonight, because we were talking about healthy relationship and toxic relationships, now you can look at it from a different point of view when you're watching him, and again, I'm hoping that you got something out of tonight, what it means to have a healthy relationship with yourself, what it looks like when you're helping and you're laying that foundation out for your children, grandchildren, and anybody we love. But remember, put yourself first. Miss Dedication, do you have any closing remarks for tonight?
Well, no. Healthy relationships are really hard because, what I hear most commonly from women more so, because men are not real open or expressive about their relationship as we women are. As soon as we get into a relationship, we want to post pictures and tell the world. Guys are not like that. But what I hear women say all the time is, I'm alone and I don't want to, be alone and I need somebody, or I need somebody to help me, or I just, just common stuff. And that right there, guys, pay attention to, because if they see, it's a difference between being desperate and lonely. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
be lonely, but if you're looking along the lines of desperation, guess what? You're going to be taken for a ride. You're going to go through the ups and downs of everything toxic in a relationship. Because for one, if you're not compatible with a person, the signs are there.
Right.
Okay. And I was just telling somebody close to me recently, you know, which I don't understand. I don't want to put their business out there, but how can you want somebody to settle down and commit to you when they're already with somebody? That is asinine. And
Yeah.
then furthermore, they're verbally abusing you. And then, like I told her, I said, look, you got a career and you already got a house. He has nothing.
Oh,
Nothing. I said, so out the gate, in my opinion, that already makes you incompatible.
yes.
So, I hate to be harsh, but don't ask me my opinion about nothing if you really don't want me to say what it is,
Yeah.
because I'm at a place in my life where I have to have peace. I've
Yeah.
been through the whole abusive relationship, the toxicity,
Yes.
the marriage, the communication, the stepchildren, everything that could have broken it apart has broken it apart. And I was like, you know what? Well, let me take a step back and let me go back to finding out who I am. I have to love
Mm-hmm.
myself. I have
Mm-hmm.
to respect myself, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to learn how to be happy. So I'm at that point and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Never settle for anything less than what your worth is.
Yes.
Because if you do, there is going to be a mountain of problems. And again, with toxicity in a relationship or any type of friendships, relationships, whatever, whoever comes into your life, you have to have open communication and respect. Those two have to be in line with each other, because if they're not, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out.
All right. So you heard what Miss Dedication had to say. You heard what Dr. Diamond had to say about healthy relationships. And look, we are enjoying our conversation, but thank you for joining us tonight on the couch. We're hoping to see you again in a couple of weeks. And hey, look for our information on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Go to Anchor. Find your stream, pick your favorite one, and you will hear our voices come to life with you. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. You all have a wonderful week, the rest of it, and have a good one. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Love and peace.
Thank you for joining on the couch this evening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and if you want to contact Dr. Diamond, you may reach her at candidconversations.dr.d@gmail.com. Have a great evening, and we will see you on the next show.